The Sandy Hook Elementary School is located in Connecticut, United States, and admits a large number of children every year. One of them was Adam Lanza. While the entire country was still trying to recover from the massacre that had just taken place in the city of Aurora, Adam was loading his weapons and walking toward Sandy Hook. The world was not prepared to witness on television the deadliest massacre in an elementary school in United States history. With no empathy and an excessive amount of ammunition, Adam followed a methodical pattern, killing 27 people in a brutal and inexplicable rampage. Adam Peter Lanza was born on April 22, 1992. His parents, Peter and Nancy Lanza, met while attending school in New Hampshire, where they began their relationship. The family home was built by the couple on land that once belonged to Adam's grandparents. They had 2 children, the oldest, Ryan, and the youngest, Adam. The family belonged to the middle class, and there was not enough money for both parents to attend college. They decided that the available resources would be used so Peter could complete his degree, with the goal of financially supporting the family. Sometime later, Nancy admitted that dropping out of college was one of the greatest regrets of her life. While Peter attended university, Nancy started her own business by opening a laundry service. The business was later sold, and she began working for a life insurance company. During her pregnancy with her first child, Nancy traveled nearly 80 kilometers to work without major complications. However, during her pregnancy with Adam, this routine was no longer possible. Despite being experienced from her first pregnancy, Nancy struggled with nausea that was far more intense and persistent than before. Unable to continue commuting, she was granted medical leave and remained at home until Adam was born. She stayed away from work for 5 months, caring for 2 children, and was eventually dismissed from her job. Fortunately, Peter had completed his education and was working as a vice president at his company, which provided some financial stability for the family. Until the age of 3, Adam was unable to speak, producing only sounds in an attempt to communicate. Family members said it was as if the boy had invented his own language. Despite this, he appeared highly creative and often used toys to express himself. Medical evaluations were suggested, but no conclusive diagnosis was reached at that time. In 1995, Adam completely stopped producing sounds that doctors could understand. Eventually, he developed speech, but other problems began to emerge. Adam displayed several repetitive behaviors, including repeatedly hitting his own head. He was extremely sensitive to pain and often claimed to smell things that were not present. Certain types of physical contact caused him distress, leading his mother to remove the tags from his clothing. Gradually, even sunlight began to bother Adam. He covered his bedroom windows with black plastic bags, completely blocking out natural light. This deprivation of light would become a defining aspect of his isolation. Prolonged deprivation of sunlight can negatively impact a person's health, especially from a psychological standpoint. Being able to perceive whether it is day or night is extremely important for several bodily functions, directly affecting mood, reasoning, and basic biological activities. With his existing issues, the development of social behavior came to a natural halt. Adam wanted to protect himself from a world that felt too bright and too loud. That protection came in the form of isolation, confined to a dark bedroom and without friends. Although he remained under medical supervision, there are no records detailing his response to treatment for his conditions. In 1998, his father, Peter, received a nearly irresistible job offer, which led the entire family to relocate to Connecticut. At that time, Peter and Nancy's marriage was already going through significant turbulence. Peter worked long, exhausting hours and was only present with the family on weekends. Adam was a child with special needs, which made Nancy's life considerably more difficult. Today, some people argue that Nancy's decision to allow her son to live within his own bubble may have contributed to the terrible acts he would later commit. Although Adam required extensive support, some of his behaviors should have been treated rather than reinforced in an attempt to minimize his conditions and create better compatibility between the boy and society. Apparently, this never truly happened. Adam and his older brother Ryan then began attending a new school. What had already been difficult became even worse. Having failed to make friends in his hometown, Adam now had to integrate into a group of classmates who already knew one another. Aware of his conditions, the school began monitoring Adam and identified a significant improvement in his communication skills. He was still described as extremely reserved, but now displayed rare moments in which he interacted with his classmates. Adam never complained about bullying, and neither of his parents were ever alerted to any incidents of that nature. It is possible that at some point he became the target of jokes because of his conditions, but it is equally possible that he was unable to perceive it. Regardless, bullying does not appear to have been a defining problem, as Adam never mentioned it in his school assignments or in his online postings. Eventually, Peter and Nancy divorced, causing a strong impact on the lives of Adam and Ryan. However, since their father had already been present only on weekends, the emotional processing of that separation occurred in a more subtle way. Around the same time, Adam made his first friend at school. Together, they wrote a book called The Big Book of Granny. Contrary to what the title and cover might suggest, this was far from a typical elementary school project. The book contained graphic themes such as the killing of children, cannibalism, and human taxidermy, among other deeply disturbing topics. Adam's father later stated that his son even attempted to sell copies of the book to other children. As Adam grew older, his problems grew with him. He abandoned many of his hobbies and activities due to severe anxiety and declining mental health. He became increasingly withdrawn, often remaining alone in his bedroom for hours at a time. During this same period, Adam stated that he no longer wanted to celebrate his birthday or participate in festive family gatherings. Social interaction was replaced by video games and the internet, where he appeared to feel more comfortable. Over time, Adam began to struggle academically. His grades declined, and he avoided asking questions in class, which further impaired his learning. Believing that large classrooms might be intensifying his anxiety, he was transferred to a Catholic school with smaller class sizes. Initially, this change seemed to help. However, Adam was eventually removed from the institution. It is unclear whether this decision was made by the school or by his mother. Throughout this period, Adam continued writing stories filled with violence and disturbing themes. One of his teachers stated that while it is common for students to write violent stories, in Adam's case, the details were far too graphic for his age. He appeared obsessed with war and destruction. The stories were so disturbing that the teacher did not allow them to be shared with the rest of the class. Concerned about her son, Nancy took the boy to a psychologist in their new city, where he was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, a condition within the autism spectrum. After several visits to the psychologist, Nancy was advised to remove him from school and pursue homeschool education, since the school environment was not considered compatible with the boy's needs. Some legal effort was required, but they eventually succeeded. During that period, Adam rarely left the house, doing so only to visit the psychologist and attend meetings of a technology-related group in which he participated. Aside from that, he spent practically all of his time locked inside his dark bedroom, immersed in his new favorite game, World of Warcraft. At the same time, the intensity of his obsessive-compulsive disorder appeared to worsen. Adam changed clothes multiple times a day, requesting that each item be washed every hour. When it came to socks, the situation was even more extreme. He reportedly went through up to 20 pairs of socks per day. He also refused to touch doorknobs and washed his hands so frequently that parts of the skin on his hands began to peel away. Although some conditions worsened while others seemed to improve, as he approached high school, Adam felt comfortable enough to return to school. As a rite of passage, one of the school traditions involved a kind of farewell ceremony in which teachers danced with their students. However, Adam was not allowed to participate. Despite spending a great deal of time playing violent video games, he also enjoyed rhythm-based games, especially dance games. He was often seen sweating excessively beneath his shirt after each of these sessions.
Left of us. Swag.
To make the boy feel more comfortable and to try to make up for the fact that he was not allowed to dance with the teachers, his mother bought a dance pad compatible with the game so that he could lay it out in his bedroom and play whenever he wanted. This likely isolated the boy even further, giving him even fewer reasons to leave his room. It is particularly interesting to observe Adam's bedroom. If it were not for the black bags covering the windows, it could easily be mistaken for a hotel room. It is normal for a bedroom to take on a certain identity, reflecting the person who lives there. Pictures, photographs, decorative objects, and everyday clutter can say a great deal about someone's personality. Remarkably, the absence of all of this also says a lot. Adam's room was clean, organized, and emotionally empty. Despite the psychologist's recommendation, the family believed it was better that the boy did not return to school. Even so, somewhat pessimistically, the professional suggested that if he did go back, Adam should avoid contact with large numbers of people. Upon returning to school, the boy would arrive either very early or very late, spending the rest of his time locked in his room on the internet. With so much time spent online and an obsession with violent content, it did not take long for Adam to come across material about mass attacks. What caught his attention the most was the Columbine massacre. Adam began participating in online forums that discussed the event using the username Smiggles. One of these spaces was a forum connected to an RPG game centered on the Columbine massacre, which Adam admitted he had followed for a long time, but had never created an account for, out of fear of being placed on a government watch list for extremists. Under a new online alias, Cambridge, Adam began editing numerous Wikipedia articles, all of them related to mass shooters. He kept a spreadsheet with around 500 cases, listing characteristics such as the number of victims, location, weapons used, and whether or not the attacker had died. These were just some of his notes. Adam also engaged in discussions about firearms, learning a great deal about the types he preferred, especially assault-style weapons. This fascination with guns was not exclusive to Adam. His mother was also described as someone who enjoyed firearms, keeping many of them inside the house. Eventually, she attempted to share that hobby with her two sons, taking them to shooting ranges so they could practice with her. If she had known then what would happen later, she likely would have traded every one of those firearms for anything else. In 2011, Adam made a remote appearance on a program called Anarchy, broadcast on a radio station focused on anti-civilization themes. The show discussed criminal cases and acts of violence. Adam contacted the program, seemingly expressing sympathy for the story of Travis the chimpanzee, comparing him to a mass killer. Travis, the chimpanzee, was a domesticated animal, raised as if he were a human. In February 2009, he brutally attacked a family friend, leaving the woman blind and severely mutilating several parts of her body. He was ultimately shot and killed when police arrived at the scene.
There we go. Hello. We get the collapsible headphones here, but we're back.
Sorry, we got Greg on the phone.
Oh, Greg. Okay. How's it going?
Hi, good. I'm a fan of your writing.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you
sorry
very
to
much.
mix up such an old news story, but I couldn't find anything that you said about the topic, and it seems relevant to your interests, so I thought I would bring up Travis the chimp. Do you remember him?
I don't.
Well, he was a highly domesticated chimpanzee who lived in a suburban home in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And he was raised just like a human child starting from the week he was born. By the time that he was 14 years old, which would be somewhere around age 20 in human years,
Uh-huh.
he slept in a bed, he took his own baths, he dressed himself, he brushed his teeth with an electric toothbrush.
Really? When was this?
Well, this happened in early 2009.
Oh.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
He ate his meals at a table and enjoyed human foods like ice cream. And he used a remote control to watch television and liked baseball games. And he even used a computer to look at pictures on the internet.
Huh.
And it goes without saying that Travis was very overweight. He was 200 pounds when he should have been around the low hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually taking Xanax.
Amazing.
I couldn't find any information about why he was taking it, but it just seems to say a lot that he was given it at all. And basically, I think Travis wasn't really any different than a mentally handicapped human child. But anyway, one day in February 2009, he was acting very agitated, and at some point grabbed his owner's car keys, went outside and started beeping from car to car, apparently wanting to go for a car ride. And he was acting very aggressively, so his owner called her friend over to get her to help him to calm down and go back inside. And once she arrived, he immediately attacked her, and his owner tried to stop him, but couldn't, and she even resorted to stabbing him with a knife, but nothing worked. And she said that after she stabbed him, he looked at her as if to say, "Why'd you do that to me, Mom?" Because apparently that was what their relationship was like, no different than between a human mother and a human child. So after the stabbing, she called the police, who arrived 12 minutes after the attack, at which point her friend was pretty close to dead. And once the cruiser came up, Travis went over to it, tried to open the locked passenger door. He smashed off the side view mirror, went over to the driver's door, opened it, and the cop shot him. He fled back into the house, where he went to his playroom and bled to death. And this might not seem very relevant, but I'm bringing it up because afterward, everyone was condemning his owner for saying how irresponsible she was for raising a chimp like it was a child, and that she should have known something like this would happen because chimps aren't supposed to be living in civilization. They're supposed to be living in the wild among each other. But their criticism stops there, and the implication is that there's no way anything could have gone wrong in his life if he had been living in civilization as a human rather than a chimp.
Ah, indeed.
So interested in Travis because he brings up questions about this whole process of child raising.
Yeah.
Isn't something which just happens to gently exist without us having to do anything, because every newborn child, human child, is born in a chimp-like state, and civilization is only sustained by conditioning them for years on end so that they'll accept it for what it is. And since we've gone through this conditioning, we can observe a human family raising a human child, and I'm sure that even you have trouble intuitively seeing it as something unnatural. But when we see a chimp in that position, we viscerally know that there's something profoundly wrong with the situation. And it's easy to say there's something wrong with it simply because it's a chimp, but what's the real difference between us and our closest relatives? Travis wasn't an untamed monster at all. He wasn't just feigning domestication, he was civilized. He was able to integrate into society. He was a chimp actor when he was younger, and his owner drove him around the city frequently in association with her towing business, where he met many different people and got along with everyone. If Travis had been some nasty monster all his life, it would have been widely reported, but to the contrary, it seems like everyone who knew him said how shocked they were that Travis had been so savage, because they knew him as a sweet child. And there were 2 isolated incidents early in his life when he acted aggressively, but summarizing them would take too long, so basically I'll just say that he didn't act really any differently than a human child would, and the people who would use that as an indictment against having chimps live as humans do wouldn't apply the same thing to humans, so it's just kind of irrelevant. But anyway, look what civilization did to him. It had the same exact effect on him as it has on humans. He was profoundly sick in every sense of the term, and he had to resort to these surrogate activities like watching baseball and looking at pictures on a computer screen and taking Xanax. He was a complete mess. And his attack wasn't simply because he was a senselessly violent, impulsive chimp, which was how his behavior was universally portrayed. Immediately before his attack, he had desperately been wanting his owner to drive him somewhere. And the best reason I can think of for why he would want that, looking at his entire life, would be that some little thing he experienced was the last straw, and he was overwhelmed by the life that he had, and he wanted to get out of it by changing his environment, and the best way that he knew how to deal with that was by getting his owner to drive him somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when his owner's friend arrived, he knew that she was trying to coax him back into his life of domestication, and he couldn't handle that, so he attacked her and anyone else who approached him. And dismissing his attack as simply being the senseless, violent impulsiveness of a chimp instead of a human is wishful thinking at best. His attack can be seen entirely parallel to the attacks, random acts of violence that you bring up on your show every week, committed by humans, which the mainstream also has no explanation for. And if
No.
he's an actual human, I just don't think it would be such a stretch to say that he very well could have been a teenage mall shooter or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Wow. Thank you, Greg.
yeah,
That's quite a story. Yeah, that's really apropos, isn't it? Travis the chimp.
it's just that I'm a little surprised that I never heard you bring it up at all, because maybe I'm just seeing connections where there aren't any, but
Not. I think not. No, I didn't catch that one. I didn't. Maybe I was out of the country or something. I don't know, but I missed it. Thanks very much, man.
thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. Wow. Very well.
Knowing what is known about Adam's online activity, it is difficult to say who he was truly referring to during that call when he made that social criticism, comparing a mass shooter to a wild animal. He may very well have been signaling what he would do in the future. It is possible that, much like that animal, Adam felt trapped in a world that was incompatible with him. Unfortunately, his story would not end very differently from Travis's. Afterward, he created a post on the forum where the conversation with the radio host had been mentioned, stating that he was impressed by his own voice and by the way he communicated at that time. Around this period, Adam showed some improvement in his social behavior. He stopped seeing his psychologist, managed to keep up with his classes, and finished school in a relatively calm manner. He later enrolled in college but dropped out during his first year. It is at this point that his story begins to take a darker and more dangerous turn. Something deeply traumatic may have occurred during this period, as Adam became permanently mute. He began covering his face whenever someone spoke to him and would remain in his room for long hours without eating. His mother even sent an email to Peter but was unable to explain what had caused such a drastic change in Adam. From that point on, the only way his mother could communicate with her own son, despite living in the same house, was through email. Adam also forbade anyone from entering his room, even for cleaning. Sometime later, Adam attempted to join the military but was unsuccessful. His father wanted him to take several courses and selected 5 for him to pursue simultaneously. Peter took a more realistic stance, which led to an argument between the two. This marked the end of the relationship between father and son. Peter attempted to contact Adam multiple times afterward, but Adam never responded. Adam's brother, Ryan, found a job in New York and also left the house. From that point on, only Adam and his mother remained living there. On December 13, 2012, the GPS data from his mother's car revealed that between 9:09 and 9:32 a.m., the vehicle traveled to an area near Sandy Hook Elementary School. There is no evidence that the car entered the school grounds at that time. The vehicle then turned right onto a street farther away from the school and used the same route to return home. The reason for this trip remains unknown. At around 10 p.m. that same day, Adam's mother returned from a trip to the family farm. Upon arriving home, she took a shower, read a book, and went to sleep. Completely isolated in his room, obsessed with mass killers, and consumed by his own disturbing thoughts, Adam decided that the time had come to put an end to everything. He accessed the Sandy Hook Elementary School website several times, suggesting a certain level of planning. It is possible that all the frustration he had endured, his inability to live a normal life, and his strained relationship with his father led Adam into a deep depression or something even worse. The date was December 14, 2012, at approximately 9:30 in the morning. It was time, in his mind, to share with the world all the frustration and hatred he felt. Adam Lanza dressed entirely in black: t-shirt, pants, shoes, socks, belt, gloves, and a hat. Over his t-shirt, he wore another black polo shirt. To complete the outfit, Adam wore a utility vest resembling military gear, though without ballistic protection, along with yellow ear protection to muffle the sound of the gunfire he was about to unleash. Adam walked to his mother's gun cabinet and took a .22 caliber rifle. He went to her bedroom where she was sleeping in her bed. Adam pointed the rifle at his mother's head and fired 4 times, killing her instantly. According to Peter, Adam fired 1 shot for each member of the family. Since Ryan and Peter were not in the house, his mother received the shots meant for them. Despite having done everything she could to protect him and make his life more comfortable, she was executed by her own son. What followed was only the beginning. Adam returned to his room, removed the hard drive from his computer, the device where files are stored, and destroyed it. He put on his sunglasses and returned to the gun cabinet. In addition to the first weapon, Adam now armed himself with a Bushmaster XM15E2S rifle with 10 magazines, each holding 30 rounds, a 12-gauge shotgun, a Glock 20 SF pistol, and a Sig Sauer P226 9mm pistol, along with a large amount of ammunition. Armed to the teeth, he entered his mother's black Honda Civic and drove to his next target, Sandy Hook Elementary School. Due to the difficulty of carrying so many weapons, Adam left the shotgun in the car and exited the vehicle carrying the rifle. His first shot was fired at the glass door, forcing his way into the building. Some teachers heard the sound but were unable to identify it. The school principal, Dawn Hochsprung, and the school psychologist, Mary Sherlach, ran towards the entrance, already fearing the worst. Natalie Hammond, another teacher, followed them. They were met face-to-face with Adam's rifle. Their screams alerted others, likely saving lives. Adam stopped and shot the principal and the psychologist, killing them both. Natalie was shot in the leg and pretended to be dead, managing to survive. The gunshots and screams were enough to alert everyone that something horrific was happening. The nightmare had arrived at Sandy Hook. A 9-year-old survivor later recalled hearing the shooter shout, "Hands up," followed by someone begging him not to shoot. Adam paused several times, causing additional injuries in the process. He entered the main office, but did not see the people hiding under the desks. The school nurse, who was 60 years old, later recalled seeing the shooter's shoes under the desk, less than 7 meters away. After a few seconds, he turned on his heels and returned to the main hallway without firing. Teachers ran through the hallways warning others about the attack, but it wasn't enough. Adam entered Class 8, where teacher Lauren Rousseau was trying to hide her students in the bathroom at the back of the room. Desperate, she could do little when Adam forced his way through the door without saying a word and opened fire on the terrified children. Lauren Rousseau, another staff member named Rachel Davino, and 14 students were fatally shot at the scene. A 15th student was also hit, but later died from his injuries at the hospital. All the bodies were found huddled together on the bathroom floor. The only survivor of that room was a 6-year-old girl who played dead, hiding in the corner of the bathroom. When she reunited with her relieved mother, she said, "Mommy, I'm okay, but all my friends are dead." The same girl described the shooter as a very nervous man and remembered hearing one of her classmates say, "Help me, I don't want to be here." Adam's response was chilling. "Well, you're here." That response was followed by gunfire that took the boy's life. What was happening was horrific, cruel, and extremely cowardly. As the attacker stained the school floor red, the police were finally alerted.
What's the location of the emergency?
Sandy Hook School. I think there's somebody shooting in here. Sandy Hook School.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Because somebody's got a gun. I saw a glimpse of somebody. They're running down the hallway.
With fear already spreading through the air, Adam walked toward classroom 10. The teacher, Victoria Soto, panicked and immediately tried to protect her students, guiding some into the bathroom, others into a closet, and several under their desks. When she remembered to return and lock the door, it was already too late. Adam was already inside the classroom. He walked toward the back of the room with a single objective. At first, he pointed his weapon at some of the children without firing. No one spoke. No one moved. In that moment, nothing could be taught, neither by the students nor by the attacker. Moments later, Adam turned toward the children hiding beneath the desks and opened fire, taking more lives in the process. A 6-year-old boy named Jesse Lewis showed extraordinary courage. He stood up and shouted for his classmates to run. Some obeyed and managed to escape. Jesse faced Adam directly. Adam pointed the weapon at the child and fired, ending his life instantly. Several times, Adam stopped to reload his rifle, which allowed some children to flee. In some moments, the weapon malfunctioned, unintentionally sparing additional lives. Many of the magazines later recovered still contained ammunition, indicating that he reloaded before fully exhausting each one. Some students left their hiding places and ran for their lives, only to encounter Adam, who was now firing uncontrollably. Victoria Soto placed herself between the attacker and the children in an attempt to protect them. She was struck multiple times and passed away at the scene. In less than 4 minutes, police were able to reach the school. By then, the tragedy had already begun to spread beyond the building as parents and family members rushed toward the location in desperation. The attack was coming to an end. Adam had no intention of being taken into custody. He dropped his rifle, took out his handgun, and turned it on himself. At approximately 9:40 a.m., officers heard the final shot. The Sandy Hook tragedy had ended. Law enforcement rushed into the school, rescuing students and teachers who had barricaded themselves. Multiple police and emergency units arrived within minutes. Adam Lanza was found no longer alive with a self-inflicted wound. In total, 26 people lost their lives inside the school. Including his mother, who had been killed earlier at home, 28 lives were lost that day, and 2 others were injured. During the attack, approximately 154 rifle rounds and 2 handgun rounds were fired. No farewell note, diary, or manifesto was found. At his home, officers discovered the body of his mother and a destroyed hard drive from which no information could be recovered. Adam Lanza ended his life at the age of 20. In cases like this, attackers often leave behind messages explaining their motives, believing their actions will turn them into symbols. In Adam's case, there was no such message. It is possible that he chose to end his life and carry out the attack as a way of projecting his inner suffering onto others. Investigators later recovered several writings that suggested planning, but none clearly explained his motivation. In an interview after the attack, Peter Lanza, Adam's father, apologized to the victims' families and stated that he wished his son had never been born. There is no public record of where Adam's body was buried. His conditions were undoubtedly difficult to manage, and prolonged isolation in a dark room only worsened the situation. His life was not easy, just as the lives of every parent and family affected by that day would never be the same again.